Hello everyone, MichaelBtheGameGenie here, and today the circle is complete because on Game Genie Reviews we're going to be looking at the third and final Arcade1Up Pinball, Star Wars. May the Force be with you. So that's right guys, today we're going to be taking a look at the Star Wars Arcade1Up Pinball. So a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I was pretty hard-headed about picking up Arcade1Up pinball cabinets that weren't based on classic tables. Despite being a huge Star Wars fan, I just couldn't see myself picking this up. Fast forward to a year later, and after having so much fun with the Marvel Arcade1Up Pinball, I let myself succumb to the dark side of the FOMO and picked up the Star Wars table as well. Let's take a look and find out how the Star Wars table compares to the other two Arcade1Up pinballs I've already received, and as a Star Wars fan, will I be satisfied with this experience or will I feel a disturbance in the Force? Last year, when Arcade1Up pinball tables were announced, I was laser focused on the Attack from Mars Williams table, and Star Wars was an afterthought for me. There was just something about the artwork that initially didn't jive with me, as it wasn't based on a classic pinball table and featured a multicade, or multi-pin I guess, design that displayed art for the beloved original trilogy, as well as art from the prequel and the much maligned Kathleen Kennedy sequel trilogy. You guys all know that I have been buying and collecting Arcade1Up cabinets that were recreating classic arcade cabinets into the 3/4 scale for home consumption, and I just didn't understand Arcade1Up deviating from that model when moving into pinball. Admittedly, I wasn't super familiar with Zen Studios and Pinball FX3 at that point, and had no idea that it just wasn't the art that wasn't recreating a classic pinball table, but all the games on the cabinet were original Zen pinball creations as well. Fast forward to about a month ago, and I started to see reviews of the Star Wars Arcade1Up Pinball on YouTube from everyone, and especially big Star Wars fans like Cool Toy, and it started to interest me quite a bit. Luckily in Canada, we have been blessed with availability on these pinball tables, and not just would I be able to order the Attack from Mars table, but I could also order both Marvel and Star Wars as well. As you've seen from my last two reviews, I went with Williams and Marvel for my initial order, but I was also a huge Star Wars fan, and despite having two already and risking a possible divorce with my wife, I had that pull from the dark side to get Star Wars as well. I of course did the exact same thing I did with Marvel and tried out the Star Wars tables on my PC prior to placing my order, and that was all the motivation I needed, knowing how good these games played and hearing that iconic Star Wars music. I placed my order and sealed my fate. Just over a week later, my Star Wars pinball landed at my local Walmart, and I smuggled it home and got it set up, and unlike the Millennium Falcon, this thing certainly doesn't look like a piece of junk. I have covered the build quality of these Arcade1Up pinball tables to death in my first two reviews, so I don't want to waste too much of your time talking about that. Like I mentioned from my initial CES first look, this cabinet has a multicade design taking characters and artwork from all three trilogies and showcasing that across the cabinet. The left side features characters from the original trilogy like Luke, Han Solo, and Darth Vader, which is extremely fitting as many of the original trilogy games are on the cabinet, including ones based specifically on characters shown here. The right side features characters from the Kathleen Kennedy sequel trilogy, and if you are into that, the art and characters are displayed really well and have a matching high quality art style. The art looks great, it's just such a shame the source material is so lame, but luckily you can just jam this side up against the wall so you don't have to see it. You know, like I did. The front of the cabinet is incredibly minimalistic, just featuring the faux coin door, plunger, and launch button, but something I did not notice before is they did do some art on the front of the cabinet as well, bringing some stars across the front panel. This is only subtle but super effective, and certainly stands out more than the front of the Marvel table. The back box sides are very different yet the same, with the right side featuring a TIE fighter and a lightsaber beam representing the dark side of the Force, while the left side features an X-wing and a blue lightsaber representing the light side of the Force. The symmetry with this cab is exquisite and really ties into the Master of the Force table. The back glass in the back box is just exquisite, with great even light distribution and no visible hot spots. The back also represents the transition from original trilogy to sequel trilogy, with poor Darth Maul being the only real representation of the prequel trilogy. I love this back glass, and I think it looks so much better in a multi-K design than the three separate images on the Marvel table, but honestly, they both look great. Again, everything is outlined with chrome legs, chrome metal border surrounding the playfield, and of course the chrome trim outlining the rest of the table. As P-Dubs would mumble into his microphone while recording, "Look at all that chrome." Realistically, it's the chrome that makes all this artwork on the cabinet pop and look so good. Frankly, from a looks perspective, this is beautiful, and it might not be a classic pinball table recreated, but I am proud to display it in my arcade, and as a Star Wars fan, I love it. Just make sure you have the correct side hidden against the wall. I think this table looks fantastic. We all know that Arcade1Up are masters of the force when it comes to building functional furniture, but if you're here primarily to play pinball, the looks of the cabinet probably don't matter as much to you as they do to me. So let's talk about how this table performs and the included games. For those of you familiar with the Star Wars Zen pinball games, either on your PC or a console, I think you will be extremely happy with these tables, as all the physics, features, and of course the music that we all know and love is there, and it all works so very well. I am by no means a pinball expert, but I do feel that the flippers are responsive and there are no stutters or slowdown at any times that will impact your pinball experience. The pinball action is fun and furious, and the tie-in with the iconic elements of the Star Wars universe have me grinning from ear to ear. For those not familiar with the Zen experience and wondering how the pinball experience is compared to classic tables, it is extremely good, but these games by far weigh more towards the video game side than any of the other tables, featuring in-game 3D characters and even lightsabers acting as a ramp for your ball. That aside, the pinball is still the main component, and I see the video game aspects actually acting as a value add to the overall experience. So much that has been said of the performance on the Marvel table can be said again when discussing the Star Wars table's performance, so let's get some of those things out of the way. The first, of course, I want to address is the ball size, and honestly, it can get pretty small on some of the tables on this pinball. I mentioned in the Marvel review how much space isn't being used on the playfield when converting these games from a widescreen monitor to vertical pinball mode, and it seems that some of the tables fare worse than others here. Take a look at the Darth Vader table, and almost 30% of the playfield is taken up with the top Vader mask that comes up to display scenes, shrinking the rest of the screen. Then you take a look at the Force Awakens table, and there's just so much dead space covered in sand that I just can't understand why it's in use. These games all play great, and I can still follow the ball easily on the 24-inch monitor, but it would have been perfect if the ball and playfield was the same size as the tables on the Williams table. The DMD is cool and displays scores and iconic scenes from the Star Wars film franchise that ties into the gameplay seamlessly. The DMD, however, like on the other tables, is locked at a screen size that only uses the middle portion of the screen and is a little small. This was obviously done to maintain aspect ratio, but still an option to stretch the DMD would have been awesome. The plunger is also a cool feature that, as we know, was included mid-development and top marks to Arcade1Up and Zen because it really enhances the at-home pinball experience. Being new to pinball, I am still learning the fine art of using the plunger the right way to score my skill shots. I will mention that just like with the other tables, there is a dead space on the plunger pullback that doesn't register, but it does not take away from the overall experience. The screen, of course, is outputting the visuals at 720p, so if you place yourself super close to the screen, you will notice some jagged edges around the flippers and rails, but typically at the distance I play from, I don't notice them at all. I will say on these tables, more so than the Marvel or Williams tables, the background art sometimes doesn't look as sharp as I think it should when looking some of the character images on screen. Something just looks a little off. Overall, these are all minor quirks that might bother some people that I think you should be aware of, but honestly do not take away from the overall experience. The simple fact is, these tables all look pretty good and play amazingly. The pinball experience is just fun, and as a big Star Wars fan, I am in my glee with my time on this table. What I would like to do now is show you some gameplay from each of the included games on this table so you can get a feel for the experience for yourself. I do want to throw up a word of caution that I had to turn off the music during gameplay so that the copyright police didn't come after me, and I am so sorry because the music is such a big part of the experience. Hopefully you can still get a feel for the games.
Commence primary ignition. Commander.
This will be worth some credits.
It was a pleasure to see this.
Now we're talking. This should be enough for today.
I better be careful. Remain unnoticed. This way. Don't push your luck.
Right.
I was inspired.
Punch it! Hurry!
Okay, you got me. I give up.
Ezra.
Working on it.
I deliver. Once I've caught my prey, nothing stops me from bringing it in. Nothing. If I take on the job, I complete it. Everyone in the galaxy knows that. Great. The right tool for every job.
Get rid of it. The ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side.
Still alive. Get a medical capsule immediately. I can feel your hate has made you powerful.
Get back to action.
Useless to resist. All one locked.
That holocron must not be wasted. Eliminate targets. All of them.
So guys, that's my look at the Star Wars Arcade1Up. Once again, Arcade1Up and Zen Studios have done a very good job taking this experience from the PC and home consoles and putting it into a value-minded table that has a similar experience to a Big Money V pin. As a big Star Wars fan, I'm very happy with this experience, and it scratches a pinball itch from a galaxy far, far away. If you're a big Star Wars fan and you don't mind a pinball experience that features very heavy video game features, I think this could possibly bring balance to the Force for you. So guys, let me know in the comments what you think of the Arcade1Up Star Wars pinball table. Once again, thank you so very much for watching this review. This is Michael B. the Game Genie, and I'll talk to you next time.